Hello, and welcome to Soul Aligned CEO Podcast. I am your host, Jenny Maury, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to be back recording. I want to first wish everyone a very happy new year. This is the first episode of 2026, and I'm just ready to dive in and get started. So, I want to share a few things with you on today's episode. First, I want to share a little bit about what I've been up to, why I paused the podcast in the middle of last year. Some exciting things have happened. And the bulk of today's episode, I really want to focus on being aligned. And there are four tips that I use myself anytime I'm looking at any aspect of my life, whether it's my professional life, my family, my health and well being, and even now my romantic relationships. So, these four tips are what I use to really ensure that I'm staying on an aligned path. So, welcome back. I'm excited that you're here. I appreciate you and your support of the podcast, and I'm really excited with my plans for this year. So, you may have noticed I took a pause the middle of last year, and I did this very intentionally. And this is going to go along with what I'm going to share with you today. I'm using my own personal example. And so, with it being the beginning of the year, a lot of times people are in this process of setting goals and setting resolutions. And I first want to say that, that's very normal. I think our society, especially Western society, has, our Gregorian calendar, and we're very focused that January 1st, new year, new you, people are setting resolutions. They want to work on their health. Maybe there's certain goals that you want to achieve. That's all very normal. But I do just want to take a second to say that if this beginning of the new year, January 1st, doesn't feel like a push to you, that's okay. Think about the seasons, and we're in the middle of winter, especially in the United States. And so that's often a time to rest and to rebuild and to reflect. After winter becomes spring. And think about it from Mother Nature's standpoint. Spring is when things start to grow, flowers start to bloom, the birds come back, the butterflies are out. That's really a time from a nature standpoint where the world is rebuilding and growing naturally. So, oftentimes for myself, this whole push at the beginning of the new year feels a little bit forced for me. And I often find myself more naturally leaning towards starting anew, making new decisions, pursuing new goals in the spring. So I just wanted to start with that. And so there's no good, bad, right, wrong. Every day is a new opportunity to evaluate our lives. And so, however makes sense to you, whether you're a person that's setting new goals and resolutions January 1st, or you're still in a winter phase and you're really looking to reflect and start those new goals and things that you want to pursue in the spring. Either way is perfect, and this episode is for you. So, last spring, I made a decision for the majority of my adult life, and I turned 50 last year. I've been very focused on two things, my health and well being, which is really important to me, and also business, my professional life, my matrix pursuits and businesses. I also had started a few different undertakings with the podcast and writing my book and working with different women's groups. I found myself at like a maximum capacity last February, March. And I realized that I had so much in my life that was focused on pursuing and achieving that I really felt imbalanced and I didn't feel aligned. I felt like I was pushing myself to record episodes. I was pushing myself to keep writing my book, to keep volunteering, to keep helping, to keep coaching, to keep running my other business, all the while balancing family obligations and other things that were important to me. I realized that I was really missing something. And that something was a relationship. Now, you may or may not know, I have been divorced since the end of 2020. I took a few years after my divorce to really heal and to become kind of reflective and to really understand the choices I made and how I was showing up in relationships. And so I had gotten to the point, kind of the end of 2023 into 2024, where I felt ready to date and to meet people, but it wasn't happening. And so I just kept going. And the beginning of 2024, I felt like I could date, but I didn't know how. And so I just kept pursuing other things. Again, 2025. I was turning 50 last January, and it suddenly hit me, if I don't make a different decision, if I don't choose to do something differently about this aspect of my life, how can I really expect my results to be different? And so last February, March, I made the decision that I was going to prioritize my personal life, that I was going to get back out there at 50 years old, whatever that was going to look like, and I was going to meet men and date and do all these things that sounded absolutely foreign to me. But I was going to focus on that. And in order to do that, I needed to make the space to do that. I needed to make the time. And so I chose to cut back on all of these kind of other things that I used to fill my time, like the podcast, writing my book, social media, coaching, other volunteer things. I really scaled back and decided that I was going to focus on pursuing love. So, more to come on that later in this episode. But this I want to use as the example as I take you through my 4 tips to being aligned. Now, many of you out there maybe can relate to my story about wanting a relationship, wanting love again, wanting companionship. Or maybe you have that. And maybe for you, you are really wanting to improve your health, to get in better shape, improve your fitness. Or maybe there's something professionally that you want to pursue. So, whatever it is that you want, you can apply these 4 tips that I'm going to share with you about being aligned in your life. And so, no matter what aspect of your life feels a little bit out of balance, the first step or tip that I have, and you can't get around this, you have to decide what you want. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Jenny, I know what I want. I want to be in better shape. I want to have a significant other. I want to have this really exciting business. Okay, that's very general. What do you really want? And I want you to take a second and think about this. And instead of thinking about it from the standpoint of this grand thing that you want. So for me, I wanted a relationship, but I had to step back a second and really think about what does that mean to me? Okay, I want someone that I can spend time with. I want someone that I can make dinner for. I want to go and watch the sunset and kind of walk hand in hand with someone. I want to go to a restaurant and have a really great, deep conversation. I want to read a book with someone. I want to curl up on the couch and watch a movie. Those are the things that I really wanted. And the key to this is, how do those things make you feel? I'm going to say that again. Whatever it is that you want, how does that make you feel? So for me, wanting that relationship and wanting that companionship felt warm. It felt loving. It felt peaceful. It felt fun. It felt energizing. That's what I really wanted. And so if you reframe what you want with kind of the more specific details, and then with those details, how does it make you feel? Because your mind can conceptualize the feeling, right? So even if you don't have the boyfriend or the perfect fitness level or the passionate, career or business, you know how you will feel if you have that. That's what you want. And that's something that's really easy to focus on. And it's really easy to help bring forward into your present. Because for me, I know those feelings of warmth and excitement and peace and fun. I know those feelings. That's what I wanted. And it was important enough to me to reprioritize my life to pursue that. So, what do you want? How does it make you feel? How does it feel in your body? So, after you have decided what you want, you can kind of weigh options and approaches, is really my next step, is all about evaluating. Now, I'm a big proponent of, okay, I know what I want. I'm ready. I'm just going to jump right in. Okay, most of the time that's okay. But you also want to just take a minute and evaluate options. Now, in my example, okay, I wanted a relationship. I wasn't meeting people. And so, really, for me, I had to evaluate, how was I going to actually meet people? And I needed to think about this from a standpoint of what would actually work and fit into my life now, because I'm 50 years old. I'm not going out to the bars. I'm not hitting the clubs, and that's really not where I wanted to meet someone. And so I really had to think about, okay, what was I going to do? And I decided that I was going to get out and about in my community more, that I was going to participate in person events. And the second thing that I was going to do was join a dating app and actually take it seriously. And so I evaluated my options. I looked at the different dating apps. I started looking at different events that I could go to. And I decided, this is what I'm going to do. And so the first thing is, decide what you want. How does it make you feel? The second tip is, evaluate your options. Now, if you're looking at improving your health, there's many different ways you can do that. List that out. See what jumps out to you. If you're looking at starting a business, maybe you need to get some coaching or some help first, some guidance. So evaluate your options. I am a big proponent in making smart choices. And while, yes, the passion and jumping kind of feet first into things has its place, your nervous system is often better aligned when you kind of think things through and lay it out. Now, don't take years to think things through and lay it out unless that's what works for you. Then that's not necessarily an immediate decision or something in your life that you really want to change. And that's kind of what I wiggle wobbled with for like 2 years, going back and forth, saying to myself, I really want a relationship, but I wasn't evaluating my options. I wasn't doing anything differently. I wasn't doing the second step. I was just saying to myself, gosh, I really want a relationship, but I wasn't evaluating what I could do to have that. Sure, I could have just bumped into someone at the grocery store, but that wasn't happening. And so I went through a couple years of wanting something, but I really wasn't taking the action and evaluating and really stepping into making it happen. So, after you've evaluated kind of your approach and what you want to do, then the third tip is you decide. And you may be saying to yourself, okay, well, I already decided I want a relationship. I'm going to go out and, attend more events. I'm going to join a dating app. Okay, yes, those are your options. Now decide that you're actually going to do it. Decide and take action. So, again, the first two steps are a little bit conceptual. It's in your brain. You want something, you know your options. The third step is action. It's actually decide and then within 24 hours, do something. And that's key. And that might seem harsh. Like, wow, how can I expect myself to do something in 24 hours? Well, if you don't, then it's really not a decision. It becomes, again, you're still just evaluating. And so once you decide, I want something, and this is what I'm going to do to pursue that, that's the decision. And then you take a tangible action, and it doesn't have to be crazy within the first 24 hours. So in my example, I decided I'm going to join a dating app, and I'm going to join a different dating app than I have ever been on before because I had in prior years, signed up on a dating app, put my stuff up there, and then didn't really participate. I would kind of look through people and, nothing seemed right. And so I just kind of gave up. I took a decisive action to sign up on this dating app, and I was going to be reaching out and liking people's pictures and sending first messages. And I did that within the first 24 hours of making the decision. And so this was last February. I decided I was going to prioritize my personal, like romantic relationship possibilities. And that was a big step for me because prior to that, I think in the back of my mind, I always thought, well, I don't really need that. I'm good. I'm happy. I have great family, friends. I have different businesses. I'm fulfilled. But something was always echoing in my heart. And I was missing that, and not missing it from the standpoint of lack, but it was just something that I really desired in my life. And so I made that decisive action to sign up on the dating app. And I'm actually going to record an entire episode, or maybe more than one, that just talks about dating again, because as a woman who has been married, divorced, and then now I'm in my 50s, things are a lot different. And I feel like I really put my boots on and rolled up my sleeves and kind of got into this space, really not knowing what I was doing, but I was really excited about it. And so I feel like my determination and my passion is what kind of helped me through, but I do have some tips and some things that I've learned along the way. And so, long story short, I did start dating. I went out on different dates with different guys, February, March, into April. And, to be completely honest, after almost 3 months, I was getting a little bit discouraged. And so, even though I had made the decision, I really want to have a relationship in my life. I really want to meet someone. And I wasn't looking to get married or, do anything extreme. I literally was just looking for someone that we have things in common. We enjoy spending our time together. And it just seemed like each guy that I spoke to, there was different roadblocks. And while the majority of the men were very nice, maybe they were at different places in their lives, maybe they had different priorities. Some of the situations were not so fun. I encountered um, different guys that, were not always completely honest. And I was getting discouraged. And this was at the middle of April. And then I met someone who actually reached out to me first. And I thought, okay, I will give this one more try. And he and I went out, and he actually lives somewhat close to me. And we started spending time together, and we really enjoyed getting to know each other. And this is when I decided last May, June to kind of pause all of these extra things that I was doing and really pursue this relationship and getting to know this man and develop a friendship and, have the time more than anything. And so that really goes into my fourth and final tip is resolve. You need to keep going. And so, whatever it is that you want, and after you evaluate your approach and your options, and then you make that decision and decide to take that decisive action, you have to keep going. That's the fourth tip. And that resolve is so important because had I given up after a few months and a few not so great dates and just thought, okay, well, I gave it a good try. This isn't for me. I could have just sunk back into my old way of being and just started working more and doing all of that. But I decided that I was going to have resolve. And to me, resolve is the key to anything that you want to pursue in your life. Because if you're committed to it and you really, really, truly feel it in your heart, then you'll have that resolve to keep going, to keep getting back up. There's a saying somewhere, and I don't know who said it, but it's that most people give up. It's kind of an analogy of digging when they're just 2 feet away from gold. And so you could be digging and digging and digging, for weeks and months and years even, and put a lot of sweat and tears into what you're pursuing. And, for me, I could have given up last April and not decided to respond to this person, but I wanted to keep going and I had to keep having that resolve. And for me, it was important because I really wanted this in my life. And so I made the changes, I prioritized my time, and I had that resolve to keep going. And I'm happy to share that he and I have been in a committed relationship now um, for almost 7 months. And so it's been a beautiful experience. And now it's beginning of January. 1 year ago, I was sitting thinking about how much I wanted a beautiful, peaceful, loving, warm, exciting, fun relationship in my life. And I'm so very blessed to have found that. It didn't happen by accident, though. And so that's why I wanted to share this with you today and kind of use my own personal example. Because if there's anything that you are wanting different in your life right now, again, any aspect of your life, family, relationships, profession, a business, career, volunteering, a loving relationship, more fun in your life, whatever it is that you desire, think back to these 4 tips that I shared. Really, really, truly get to the root of how you feel about what you want. That's really key. And have that feeling in your heart because all last year, as I was pursuing dating and meeting guys, I had that warmth in my heart. in my mind. I knew that peaceful feeling that I was seeking, and that's what found me. So, being very clear on what you want and how you feel, really look at what your options are, how you want to approach it, and then make that decision and take that decisive action within 24 hours. And then finally, don't give up. Keep going. It's not easy. I know that. But you can't change where you are if you don't think about how you can make something different. You need to really focus on how you can pursue what you want and really be mindful of what you're telling yourself. For so many years, I told myself I was fine. I don't need to be in a relationship. I'm good alone. And that's what I got. And when I started shifting that dialogue, that's when I started to see what was possible. So I'm really excited for all of you and everything that you're pursuing. I am looking forward to sharing more about my dating journey and just how it was to get back out there, what I'd learned from the dating apps, what I'd learned being in a close, intimate relationship again. And it is possible. Everything is possible that you want. Remember that. And I appreciate your support of the podcast. Liking and sharing this episode means so much to me. I really look forward to sharing more with you soon. Until next time, I wish you much peace, love, and joy as you pursue being soul aligned.